In this help video, we'll be looking at how to use the Derozap Administrator's Console to troubleshoot your stations, your hardware. So the first place to start is to go into your ZAS by station. Now this should be a default report on each of your administrative dashboards. And what you're looking for is a station that is reporting 0 zaps. That's going to be a red flag. Now your report will not look this big probably because you don't have that many stations. So each one of these are stations, and we'll look at 0. So here's a 0 here, and that's admin entry, which means that is giving manual zaps. So that is 0. That's good. You don't want it to be people giving a lot of manual zaps. Let's look for other ones. Look for here, Mississippi and Grove Street is 0. So that one would be a red flag. So let's go take a look at some of these messages. So the way you go is you go up in the station lists, and let's pull the Mississippi and Grove Street. So you go to the menu, click on station lists, and it should bring up the station lists. Now a lot of the error messages that it gives you are just communication errors or network errors, and it's not a problem, nothing to be concerned about. Whereas some of them you should be concerned about, and we'll go over those as well. So I'm going to type in Mississippi here, and we should get this one up. And we want to take a look at the error message it's giving us. So it shows here that there's a network error, which is not a problem. A network error just means that it wasn't able to, the modem was not able to make a handshake or communication handshake with the server, so it wasn't able to upload the data at that time, but it probably was at some other time. So we can go ahead and clear that. And let's take a look at the last time it reported. So it's going to show today, but you can change that to all events or to errors, or just everything that happened today is what I've got. And I'm going to interpret a couple of these readings here. So what this is showing is that on 5/8, which is today, at 4 o'clock, it did report in, so that everything is looking fine. All that's happened with that station is that no bikers went by, so that's why it showed 0. So that's okay. That means that the hardware is working fine, but maybe it's a bad place to put the reader because there's no bike traffic there. So let's go through a little more of these of what this information means. So this shows battery at 13. 12 is good. Solar is at 13. Now we can see it was higher solar during the day, which is good, and solar drops down during the night, as you can see. So that's good. So the solar, it's getting enough solar. Temperature is usually not really necessary. And then also station status. What this shows is that it's giving us periodic update every hour or so. Network error, had a problem connecting there. But really it's not. That is pretty normal, and it's nothing to be concerned about. Also at 4 in the morning, or different stations at different times, it'll reset itself. It's a little bit like a rebooting to clear everything out and make sure it's functioning correctly. Let's go and take a look at a couple of the other stations and see what other error messages is that it's giving us that might be of concern, or I'll interpret them so you can understand that, how it works. So let's take a look at Target. Now I'm going to use the Target one because that is a hardwired system that does not use solar, and so you can see this one doesn't even doesn't have a solar panel. It just is a hardwired, so the solar is always going to be 0, not a problem. And then the battery, which it actually doesn't have a battery either, but it measures the voltage going in, is going to be fairly constant. And any of the errors that happened are network errors, meaning that it just had a handshake issue, which is not a problem. Let's go take a look at some other stations. I want to take a look at, I know the Dero HQ one, we had some, it's a Wi-Fi station, and we were doing some work on it, and so that will be a good one to take a look at as an example of what to look for. Okay, so in this case, notice here, this is all active errors. Let's go all events. Okay, now there's a couple things that stand out here. Now look here, this shows everything that happened the last several days. So on 5/6, it was the last time it reported up until until there was some work done on it. So there was a 2-day gap there. So if the station doesn't report after a day, that is something to be concerned of. And you can see here the station status, the chassis was open. That means the door was open, meaning that somebody opened the door on that, and that's something that would be of concern if you would be worried about vandals or something like that. That would indicate that that might have happened. And but right now it seems to be reporting fine, and everything is good with it. So let's go take a look at some other possible errors that you might run into. So let's go take a look at Wabasha and Fillmore. This shows an RFID error, and that's something you want to be careful about. Now, if you see an RFID error, that means that the RFID card is not reading. So when people go by there, it might not be zapping, but it might also be zapping as well. So in this case, it's an RFID error 1285, and it still seems to be reporting trips. But it's something that you might want to then, if we haven't already noticed it at Dero, that you might want to report to us. But let's see if it's also reporting trips, and I think it is. So something like this, you want to see. The last one that happened was on the 8th. Let's see, it'll reset itself tonight and see if it happens again tomorrow. If it happens on a consistent basis, then you might want to bring it to our attention if we haven't already noticed it. Here I want to show a low battery error, even though it's been cleared. So if this has not been cleared, it would show in red. And here it shows the station status is low battery. Battery is showing 11.17 voltage. Right around 11, it's going to be a problem. That's when you're going to start seeing them go offline. And that generally will happen if it's not getting enough solar, which would be usually around the winter solstice, or if it's covered with snow. Or if it's being obstructed by something over a longer period of time. Generally, a full battery will last just on its own for about 4 days, but it will need sunlight to keep going. Enough sunlight, usually right around. We want to see about 8 hours of 12 volts to keep the station up and running without going down. Just to use an example of what might be more commonly seen for your institution, let's go into a institution with a fewer number of ZAP units available. So let's look at UMD. Here is their station usage reports, shows 14 ZAPs today, so there's no red flags here. Let's just quick go into their station lists, take a look at their stations. So one of them is reporting some errors, 9 errors. Let's take a look at those errors. You click on it. They're all network errors, not a problem. You can go ahead and clear them if you want. You don't need to. And then let's take a look at them. So this is today. It's showing that it's reporting today. Battery looks good. Solar looks good. Everything looks good here. So let's go back to the global page, and we'll recap a little bit. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to first, to summarize what you need to do, look at your stations, see if there's any zeros which would indicate some sort of problem. If there's a 0, then you go into the station list, and actually there's really no zeros here. But if there's a 0, you go into the individual station, take a look at it, and just because it shows 0 doesn't necessarily mean there's a problem. It just means that there's no zaps at that particular station. So you go into the station that you are thinking might have some suspicious, might be suspicious, and then you take a look at the station. And if the station is not reporting not doing any of the periodic updates, or is not communicating, and you'll be able to tell that by seeing when the last time it communicated, then that would indicate a problem. Or if it's showing something like an RFID error or something like that, low battery, something, keep it on your radar, or give us a call and let us know about it, or send us an email, and we'll keep it on our radar as well. And that is how you troubleshoot or the preliminary steps in troubleshooting or figuring out if there's a problem on one of your ZAP stations.